What's up, y'all? I hope all is well. So, I wanted to do some commentary in response to this TikTok I saw made by Super Peach. And so, she's a rapper. She was on the rap game alongside Lotto. But she's a pretty good rapper. I've been keeping up with her since she was on that show. So, I'm pretty familiar with her personality. And I swear she has addressed this hair thing since the height of her career. Like, for the past, like, 5, 6 years, every year she seems to always be addressing this hair thing. And I mean, I can believe that people are always saying stuff about it to her. So I finally wanted to do some commentary on it because I've seen this been happening a lot. And this is just a conversation that is a constant discourse in the black sector of the internet, like in natural hair spaces and things like that. And honestly, it's just exhausting. Like, to me, it's crazy that it's 2024 and we're still talking about this. Like, it's crazy that it's been so many social media platforms and people still have not evolved past this thinking. Like, they're still talking about this. Like, I would have thought that people would have left this mindset in the 2010s. Like, and I'm being generous giving y'all the 2010s. But, really, we're only 10 years, almost 10, 15 years fully into the natural hair movement. So, honestly, the shit is still fresh when you really think about it. So, I really shouldn't be surprised.
So this girl says, you are mixed clearly, so your hair naturally gets long like that and was like that way before your products drop. Goodbye, Peachy Peach, for real. I know you thought you ate that, but girl, whatever. I honestly wish you guys got out of that simple mindset of thinking because a person is mixed, that's why they hair grow. Like, who told you? Who came up with that? Like, who told you guys that? If that's the case, I wouldn't have the longest hair in my household because clearly we all the same thing. No, my hair is long and healthy because I choose to have a good food diet, a good hair care line that I use consistent with no chemicals, which is peach amani. I get my split ends trim and I take care of it. That's it, that's all.
But I don't really have much to say about this, honestly. It's just insane to me that the conversation is still being had and still being discussed. Because, like, at this point, if you just feel like only mixed people can grow hair and that's what you've internalized for whatever reason, that's really unfortunate. And if you're on the internet and there's so much information out there about natural hair and about the different hair textures, and this is pretty much mainstream conversation now. It should be no reason that this is still a discussion that people are having in 2024. And, like, despite the mainstreamness of the natural hair conversation today, I really should not be surprised that this is still discourse that is happening, because unfortunately, I have to be honest with you. Older people, like in my generation, are still projecting these negative ideas out into the public and teaching them down. So it's inevitable that younger girls and women are getting that in their household and being told this stuff too. So they're still internalizing that. And I really had to come to this conclusion with the whole wig thing, because I have felt like, oh, we made so much progress in the natural hair movement, whoop de whoop de woo. Because, I have a lot of new subscribers, so I'll just explain this. But I have explained this in other videos, so you should go watch. I forget what the title is, but I'll link it in the description box. But anyway, 2 years ago, I made a video about the experience of growing up light skinned with natural hair. So my entire life I've had natural hair. My parents were the like earthy, vibey type in the 90s, you know what I mean? Very Erica Badu, Andre 3000, that ilk. Those type of people. So like they had dreads and shit. So I always had natural hair. So this was like the late 90s, early 2000s, and it was not easy. Let me just say that. I appreciate the experience because it made me who I am, and I wouldn't change it. But let me tell you something. Having natural hair in the early 2000s, you had to have thick. I always find this conversation today to be so funny, where people are like, yeah, light skinned and mixed women took over the natural hair movement and they get so much praise for wearing their natural hair. But, if dark skinned or brown skinned women did that, specifically dark skinned women, they wouldn't get the same praise and blah blah blah. And I just think that's so funny, because I remember how it was for me growing up in the early 2000s, and how much like negativity I got. And mind you, I was a child, and it would be adults making comments to me, making comments to my mother. It would be other kids, but you would be surprised how many adults would be saying stuff. And mind you, this was black and Hispanic people. So I was growing up in a Dominican neighborhood in the early 2000s with natural hair. That shit was not easy, okay? And so like going back to my childhood, you know, my families, both sides of my family are also mixed. So, I always had women in my family that looked like me and had hair like me and stuff like that. But, the rest of my family, like my extended family, was not as progressive. Well, no, they weren't progressive like my parents. They were not secular. They were the opposite, very much in the church, pastors' wives and kids, all that good stuff. So they were big on, I'm gonna be honest with you, kind of respectability type shit. You gotta have your hair a certain way. Like they were not on that natural hair earthy tip at all. So that was kind of like a conflict sometimes there too. So when I would go around my family in the summertime and stuff, so luckily this wasn't something I day to day had to deal with. But when I would go around them in the summertime, they were always trying to put a hot comb to my hair, you do something to it. Like they took great issue with my hair being natural. And I'm gonna put a picture on the screen of how my hair looks. But by today's standards, I have the type of hair that on TikTok they would be saying, "Oh, you have good hair because you're mixed," blah 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 blah, and not trying to gas myself up, but at that time, my hair was not viewed like that. It was still viewed as like quote unquote nappy. Like it was not viewed as good hair at all. So the contrast to me over time has been very interesting, which we can attribute to the natural hair movement because I do feel like there was a level of I hate to say it, kind of texturism in a way that internalized texturism that was projected into the movement that was intertwined in it. So things became kind of like, yeah, slippery to where now there's a natural hair movement, but now you got women making goofy ass comments like you can be natural because you're mixed, but I guess she can't be. She got to wear a wig or whatever because she's not. I don't know what her logic behind that comment is, but I'm gonna be honest with you. Subconsciously, that is a lot of women in my generation, like younger millennial and Gen Z's mentality. I had to realize because I was like, what is up with these wigs? Like we did a whole natural hair movement. What is up? So many women my age wear wigs constantly. And don't get me wrong, I wear wigs too. And I was one of the first, don't get me wrong, I was actually one of the first people in my high school and that I ever even seen in my neighborhood that started getting lace front wigs from like AliExpress and at that time Alibaba and stuff like that. I started getting those early and stuff, and they just kind of messed up my hair at a certain time, my hairline, because I have a thick hairline. So that's kind of why I started being like really I guess you could say really touchy feely with the wigs, not wearing them as much because I really messed up my hair before, and I've never even gotten them like installed by anybody else because I'm scared they're gonna rip out my hairline because I've done that to myself. So I was so paranoid about developing alopecia or it just my hairline not growing back because I'm not gonna lie, I am proud of how thick my hairline is. I have some cute edges when I do them. So I kind of laid off on the wigs, but I noticed with a lot of my black women peers, that's all they do is put the wigs on, and I'm like, what is up with the wigs? And I'm not trying to be shady or like judge other black women, but because I'm saying I have experience with affecting my hair because the wigs, gotta look at other black women like, well, what's going on? That gotta be affecting your hair.
A lace front wig is something that was created for the Hollywood world, for a movie, for a black woman to have consistency and continuity with her hair. That's what it was for. Okay. The stylist took it, and now we're wearing them to bed. We're wearing them, for a month. We're wearing them too much. We're wearing them, only wearing them. So it's like it's gotten overwhelmingly just a lot. And a lot of the women don't know what they're doing. So a lot of women have no edges, or their hair is totally bald, or they're just continuously covering and covering. And we have it's like an epidemic at this point with our women. And no one's really talking about it because everyone's very embarrassed about it.
So I'm only bringing this up to say that I do feel like a toxic element came out of the natural hair movement where it was like kind of still a level of like respectability there where it's like, oh, certain people, they can grow hair or they can wear their hair natural because it looks decent or looks pretty or looks acceptable to what they think, let's be real, black males are going to find attractive. But I can't be natural because I don't have that type of hair or I don't have the time to invest and make it look the way I want to. With you, I had a lot of hair dysmorphia as a child because I'm gonna just be straight up with you, because I grew up around other mixed and like Hispanic people and everybody wore their hair either straight or relaxed and I didn't. I really thought there was something wrong, and I thought that I saw something wrong with me, and I thought that because my hair didn't look the way that I expected somebody who I guess is mixed or Spanish like me is supposed to look. Like, and my hair didn't look like that. I had a lot of complexes about that. I was like, well, why is my hair quote unquote nappy, but everybody else got straight hair? Mind you, nobody was wearing curly hair or natural hair at that time. It was straight hair. And if they did, it would be some wavy stuff. Or you know how it looks when chicks get their perm wet or they do that wet and wavy perm look, you know, when their hair is basically fried and then they put some mousse in it and some pink oil. You remember how they used to do in the early 2000s, especially like the Spanish girls, you know, you put your, anyway, you get some gel to it, you crank it up a little bit. Mind you, it's not kinky, but it's wavy, you know, because your hair don't go back curly anymore after a certain point. It's just wavy. So anyway, I grew up seeing that so much. So I always thought like, what is wrong with me? Like, why is my hair not like, why do I look like this? And like, even though phenotypically I looked like the people around me, and you know, people were like basically light skinned blacks too, and I knew I wasn't phenotypically ugly. I knew physically like I was pretty. Like I never felt ugly or anything. And even when I was little, my parents always said that little boys would always be trying to talk to me and have crushes on me, so like that. So I never felt like I was ugly. But because of my hair, I really do feel like a lot of black and Hispanic people, they would treat me like, kind of like push me to the side and kind of like, like, you know what I mean? They kind of treated me like I was ugly because I wore my hair natural. And I kind of knew that. Like I knew I wasn't actually ugly. I knew I just basically wasn't presentable to them. In the black Hispanic community, like not having your hair quote unquote done, like that's a major offense. Like that's a whole like thing. Like they really freak out if your hair is not contained, done, even in the early 2000s. And honestly, this mentality has still kind of carried on, because that kind of goes back to the whole thing like, oh, rules for thee but not for me. Like other people can have their hair natural, it's a cute look for other people should do that, but I'm not gonna do that. You know, I can't wear wigs, my hair wouldn't look pretty natural. It kind of carried over. Or there's a lot of women that like, oh, they only want to wear their hair natural if their edges are done, or they can't wear braids if their edges is not done, or they only want to wear a wash and go. They're never gonna just take their hair out, you know, once they wake up, give it a shake and then run out, you know, in this natural state, just put some cream in it and go. It gotta be like styled in some type of way. So a lot of these ideas have still carried over. So anyway, I'm only talking about that and like how respectability, politics, and natural hair kind of intersect, and connecting that's like my little, you know, trauma dumping session. Just showing how it's crazy that these ideas are still an issue. And that I also think that it's funny that this person is telling Super Peach in her comments, she's like, oh yeah, you're supposed to have hair like that because you're mixed. But like I said, like when I was little, I had such a hair complex, and felt just kind of had like racial dysmorphia in a way, because I felt like it was something wrong with me because I wore my hair natural when everybody else was the ones frying their hair out. And I just didn't understand like the social dynamic kind of in a way. But now that I'm older and like seeing people who have a certain hair, you know, who have hair like me, people are like, oh, you're supposed to have hair like that because you're mixed. Oh, that's the hair society praises. And it's like, it wasn't always like that. Like it took a lot of people and a lot of us who have that hair type that y'all praise, or that y'all think is the acceptable type of natural hair. It took a lot of us a lot of time to unlearn and decolonize our mind and learn to really love and appreciate our hair, because, you know, we were even indoctrinated to view it as unacceptable, or, you know, pushed aside or treated differently because of it. um so you can't always look at it in a grass is greener type of way. And it is funny that, you know, there are these ideas even as mixed people ourselves that we've internalized, and that I'm even admitting when I was a child that I had internalized, that, oh, there's hair I'm supposed to have because I'm mixed, I'm supposed to look like this because I'm Hispanic, I'm supposed to look like this because I'm Cuban, I'm supposed to look like this, you know, because I'm biracial, whatever the case may be. We even internalize that and project that on each other and on ourselves, and it can be really toxic. And it's just a whole mess of colonized thinking that we need to unlearn as women. And that's something that we definitely need to do the work as personally. As women, we can't project that onto anybody else, or try to scapegoat anybody else for this issue. This is like natural hair thing, and the hair thing in general is one of the most organically black women issues that we can take charge of. And I really didn't have much to say about this TikTok. I was just like shocked that in 2024 we're still having these regressive ass conversations. But at the same time, I should not be surprised, because earlier in the video, I was making a comment that I didn't really follow up on, but I was going to say that the older generations are passing these ideas down through TikTok still. Women that are like older millennials, you know, women my age that are younger millennials and young older Gen Z and stuff like that, passing down these crazy ideas. We had who I suspect. I'm not gonna say who I suspect, but if you know what I'm talking about, about a year ago, there's a dark skinned black woman who she makes content on YouTube and on TikTok, and she made a video that went super viral where she was saying, "Oh, most black women don't have long hair and they can't grow long hair, and it's just a fact, and everybody knows that, and blah 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 blah." And she has a pretty like known voice, so if you know who I'm talking about, like you know who I'm talking about, but I'm not gonna put her on the spot. But yeah, she said that, and I know she's a millennial. She's not that old, even though she be sounding like she's old as hell in her videos. I'm sorry, I'm just being honest. But she said that she's not that old. So why are you sitting on TikTok projecting that onto younger women and girls when that's just not true? Like it doesn't matter if it's 4C hair, 4A, you know, the loosest the loosest type A hair, A1 or whatever the hell y'all calling it today. It does not matter. Any type of hair can grow. It's just a matter of maintenance, diet, environment, and all of that stuff is a factor. And that's also why it gets complicated, because not everybody has time to sit there and moisturize their 4C hair and take time and comb it out. And not everybody has time to do that or wants to do that. And a lot of different natural hair types take maintenance. If you want to grow it long like Super Peaches, if you want it to be healthy and you want to diet, or you want to wear wigs one day and switch it up and then put on braids the next day, you want to maintain it, all of that stuff takes maintenance and money. So if you don't have time, money, and energy to do that, or to pay somebody to do that, you're asked out. So it's also not fair, in the other hand, to wag your finger at black women who wear wigs and be like, oh, well, why are you not wearing your natural hair? Why are you not wearing wigs? Why you wearing wigs? Blah 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 blah. That's not even helpful either, because if you're a working woman and then God forbid you got kids, when are you gonna have time to sit around for 3 hours and moisturize and wash your hair and have a wash day? Like y'all can sit up here and pretend like natural hair, like there is so realistic in the sense that it doesn't take maintenance, and that if you're a human being you have to take time to do that. I feel like it's unrealistic, because you do have to take time to do that. Now, you can be one of those women who they just wash their hair, put some moisturizer, and leave it and go, and you live your life and you don't spend time combing it out or doing styling it or anything. You can be one of those women and life will be easy for you. But let's be fucking for real here. Most black women are not comfortable to do that. They're not going to just wash it and just leave and just let it grow out and it stay and do whatever. You're not going to do that. You want to style it. You want it to be moisturized. You want it to be combed out. You want to take time to go to the store and get nice products, comb it out in the shower, all that shit. It takes time. You're going to spend at least 2 hours tops on your hair if you're really trying to do a good wash day. I'm speaking on this as somebody who's been natural for 20 plus years, my entire life. Anybody who's telling you, oh, it's so easy, there's no maintenance, you guys are over exaggerating, is lying. They're lying. But I also want to say I'm not over exaggerating in the sense that it doesn't have to be hard though. It don't have to take forever. You don't have to use 8,000 products, use 50 creams and da 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 da. Because even all of that and that routine and somewhat ritual comes from this idea of, oh, my hair needs to be styled, my hair needs to be presentable, my hair needs to be done, or trying to manipulate the curls to look a certain way to get this certain aesthetic. All of that stuff is still internalized. So I wanted to be clear what I'm saying. I'm saying both things are true. Natural hair can be time and maintenance, but it doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be unrealistic. But I also don't think that it's fair to y'all be putting up these wash and go videos for the last 12 years. These routines take at least 3-4 hours plus, especially if you're not an expert. And then y'all making it seem like it's so easy for the regular black woman to do this, knowing that the average black woman has kids, she gotta cook, she gotta do, stuff around her house, laundry, all that stuff. God forbid you work a full-time job. Who the hell wants to spend their weekends doing natural hair? Sitting there blow drying and putting coconut oil on your hair. Don't nobody want to do that. I don't blame other women for not wanting to spend their life doing hair. Not everybody likes that. So I'm not going to be judgmental about that either. So I think both things are true. And even in Africa, black women were not just waking up and rolling out the bed and just running outside and leaving their hair as it is. That was not happening. Even then, they were maintaining their hair. So anybody telling you that that's not what's happening is lying too. They were always moisturizing it, combing it out, braiding it, conditioning it, all that good stuff. You've always had to do that to maintain black hair. The Egyptians did it. It's well documented. This is just what you have to do. So I think the lies need to stop. And I think we need to be honest with each other about our natural hair. Unless you're going to come to the next black woman who has 3, 4 kids under 10's house and do her hair on a Sunday afternoon, do not sit on TikTok wagging your finger about black women wearing fake hair and not going natural and talking about how black women can't grow hair, because that's not true. It has nothing to do with the hair texture. It has most to do about maintenance. In my opinion, maintenance is the biggest thing. Maintenance, lifestyle, environment, and hair care. Those are the big things. So there's a lot of different factors. So you can't just make these broad across the board statements talking about, oh, most black women don't have long hair and can't grow it. That's not, it's not progressive for you to take to the internet and say that. There was no reason to say that. People been saying that on the internet for years, like literally years. That's one of the first things I can remember hearing as a little girl being on the internet when I should not have been. Them talking about black girls can't grow hair. So I don't understand why this person has to come on TikTok and reinforce that idea. And then you also had 𝙎𝙤𝙢, and I like 𝙎𝙤𝙢, but her saying like most men don't like curly hair, something like that. I don't know. I don't know. I just don't think that's progressive. I don't think it really matters. Like, I'm gonna just be honest with you. I don't think men care that much. Like, if you look cute, if you rocking whatever you rocking and you confident, I just don't believe that. And I don't understand why so many black women did get triggered and even paid her comment dust, because you can look at the evidence, see that's not true. How many black women, not only on social media, but in real life, that are dark skinned, clearly phenotypically unambiguous black, shaved head, or, short natural hair, 4C hair, and they be having the top richest husbands that be stepping for them. So why would you even entertain what 𝙎𝙤𝙢 is saying? Like, and like I said, I like 𝙎𝙤𝙢. I agree with a lot of stuff that she says. I'd be watching her. But I mean, if the reality in your face is showing you that that's not true, why would you even pay that comment attention or dust? That's her opinion. Maybe that's the men she's encountered. She's also from a different generation, a different time, and that's what I'm talking about. You got a lot of women who have their own traumas from the time that they was coming up, including me. But I'm not, unlike them, I'm not getting to the internet and spewing my trauma to younger black women and girls, trying to get them to think the same way as me. That's the difference, though. I'm acknowledging what happened to me, but I'm not saying, oh, yeah, well, because a lot of little raggedy ass little black and Spanish boys back in 2006 told me they didn't like my hair. Most boys don't like natural hair, don't curly hair. That's not even the case anymore. It's honestly not the case anymore. But that's also, who are you around? So I'm not going to say across the board, oh, men don't like curly hair, even though when I was a little girl, I did used to think that because of the little raggedy niggas I was around. But that's how children think. That's a childish way to think, essentially, is what I'm saying. Like I said, I like 𝙎𝙤𝙢, but in my opinion, that was a childish comment. It was childish, and it's an old-fashioned comment. It's definitely something a black woman from a certain generation would say. Like, that definitely sounds like something my aunts would have said. And honestly, my family was pretty texturist, but they weren't, one thing I will say, they were not colorist or racist, though. They never talked about race or skin tone or anything like that. I never grew up even hearing about, I'm talking about for my extended family. My parents talked to me about race, but my extended family did not talk about race. So it took them a long time to, make these connections between internalized anti-blackness and texturism. And it's like, no, it's not just a hairstyle. Who gives a shit what people at the church think are not going to say, but it takes family to enforce these ideas and to make cultural changes. I kind of want to pivot before I wrap this video up and talk about the fact that I do think that black people do have a unhealthy, like, kind of fascination and like fetishization for what they consider quote unquote mixed hair, or hair from like groups that are technically MGM and stuff. And what really got me to thinking about this was because I saw a TikTok, and I was trying to find it, or a reel or some shit, where it was Meatball, that internet personality, and she was coming out with a wash and say, and she was like, oh yeah, then Dominicans get me right. When they get my hair like this, I feel like I'm Dominican and blah, 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 blah. And she just kept going on and on about how her hair looked Dominican and all this type of shit. And this is like a pattern I've seen amongst, I'm just being honest with you, specifically black Americans on social media. Like, there used to be this sound that was going around that was like, oh, when I wear this hair, I feel like I'm Puerto Rican, like this is that Puerto Rican hair, and da-da-da-da-da.
I felt like a Spanish, like a Puerto Rican in this hair. I felt Puerto Rican.
Y'all know I love me some Puerto Rican. I felt Puerto Rican in this. I felt like a Spanish, like a Puerto Rican in this hair. I felt Puerto Rican. Y'all know I love me some Puerto Rican. And people can say that I'm reading into it too much, but I don't know. I just find it to be cringe as fuck, especially somebody who comes from both cultures. I just find that shit to not be progressive or cute. It's not helpful. It's not, and it's also not nice. I really don't appreciate black women, but specifically black American women, because people know what ethnicity you are. Let's be real. To constantly be broadcasting their insecurities on social media in that way, I don't think that, like, I get it's a joke, but it's just not. It's not a funny joke, especially when you have broads like Samantha. I'm not gonna say broads like old girl here who was perpetuating this idea that, oh, black women can't grow hair, but then they try to say like, oh, what are y'all saying that Hispanic people do grow hair, or Puerto Ricans, Dominicans do grow hair, which is a stereotype. Like, not all Dominicans or Puerto Ricans have nice silky hair, have long hair. Like I just said, I know that for a fact. Like, I have so many people, not only my family, but people that I knew growing up with, that had so many issues with their hair to this day. Like, and hair can grow. Even Cardi B has talked about that. So that's just, you're playing off of stereotypes. So it's like people of African descent across the board struggle with their hair. So you kind of you making a joke out of yourself and upholding negative stereotypes about not only yourself, but also about you upholding harmful stereotypes about Afro Latinos also when you're making these comments. Because like I said, when we have these narratives out there, even if they're disguised as jokes, that also inevitably is going to create complexes amongst mixed people and Afro Latinos also. Because if you're putting this idea out there that there's an expected hair texture or length or whatever that you're supposed to have because you're mixed, and you don't have that, what are you saying? You saying, oh, that person is not really Dominican, or you saying that that person's not beautiful, that there's something wrong with them? Like, it's just, it harms both groups. It's not beneficial to either group. So that's why it's just cringe to me. And it's just like, you will not see a video of a Cuban or a Colombian chick being like, oh yeah, when I wear this wig, I feel African American. Like, you're never gonna see some shit like that. So it's just cringe across the board. Like, so I just gotta be honest with you. Like, you can't be making these videos like, oh, quote unquote preferences think that they're better. All these Hispanic women think that they're better, according to you. But this is the rhetoric online. Like, not saying that it is justified for somebody to have a superiority complex, but perhaps you're projecting that idea because that's the idea you put out there. You even project on yourself. So is it far-fetched to believe that you're projecting that onto other people? Because it's interesting to me, a lot of the women, the Hispanic women that they claim have superiority complexes and that they think that they're better than black women, honestly, I view a lot of those women as being insecure about how they look and who they are, and probably went through a lot of the same natural hair, curly hair issues that African American women are. So you shouldn't be looking at the grass is always greener all the time, because you don't know what issues people got going on in their household and in their culture. And if you go over to Dominican or Puerto Rican TikTok, everybody's talking about that. So, and all the, natural hair trauma that's in the Hispanic community. So you just don't, the grass is not always greener. And you shouldn't big up one group's hair texture that you assume over another one. And I just made a video talking about how Mayo's World was complaining about African Americans bigging up type 4A hair and African American hair textures, but then you got African American hair textures. I mean, you got African Americans bigging up Dominican and Puerto Rican hair textures. And then a lot of times you have Dominican and Puerto Ricans uplifting European hair textures. It's like everybody wants what's more mixed or what's more white than them. I feel like all these people of African descent needs to just be honest that a lot of y'all have internalized anti-blackness and self-hatred, and you just don't value Afro hair. So that's why you always want what somebody else has that's more mixed or more white than you. Just be fucking for real here. Because ain't none of y'all running around trying to see Nigerians' hair or trying to buy hair that looks like it's from West Africa. Like, let's just be real here. Y'all, even when y'all buy this quote unquote Puerto Rican hair that y'all talk about, you're going out of your way to spend money on a hair texture that looks nothing like yours naturally. And that probably some Puerto Rican woman had to manipulate her natural hair to get. That's the gag. Y'all think that we have these natural hair textures and we just come out the womb with these wet and wavies and these jerry curls, when a lot of us be going through that hair texture issues too, or having complexes about your hair or thinking your hair is nappy all type of stuff. So the grass is just not always greener. That's all I'm saying. But anyways, get in the comment section. Tell me what y'all thought about this video. Do you have any experience with these topics? What did you think about Super Peach's response to that commenter? Get in the comment section and tell me what you thought. Peace out.